What's up? What's up, hoop heads? Look, I never burned mine. Got my original LeBron Cavs jersey on. What's up, hoop heads? It's your boy JB with Undrafted Hoops. Welcome to another off-season off-season podcast, as you want to call it. Before we dive in, though, and bring on some of my guests, I want to give a shout out to some of our YouTube networks that we've recently paired with. One, Let's Talk Sports. We haven't really fully dove in with them yet, but we really appreciate them. And I also want to give a shout out to the Hardcore Sports Network. They just ended their Monday Night Raw live viewing pod, and from what I understand, it's dope. So if you haven't subscribed to their channel, make sure you do that too. But also Facebook and Twitter. Make sure you follow us on there. Every day we're touching on NBA news, conversation, opinion pieces, really unbiased conversation, and just our narrative and how we like to cover the league. We really tend to be on the different side of opinion, and it makes for good conversation. So if you haven't, like this on there, Facebook Undrafted Hoops, Twitter Undrafted Hoops _. We just got started on there, so get in from the ground up. And also, do not make me tell you this again. YouTube Undrafted Hoops. Smash the subscribe button for us. Retweet, share, like, comment, subscribe, all of the above. All the support is appreciated. With that being said, I'm probably boring you to death. I got to bring on my boy, the Sasquatch of Hoops. He hasn't slept since the draft. Tony G, what is up?
What a draft. You're right. I've been so hype ever since. What a draft. When we look back 20 years, people are going to be like, wow, that was one of the great ones.
This kind of draft, you think that this draft has that kind of energy?
Yeah, I think it's really deep, and then has the guys up top who are really good. Obviously, Wembanyama, Scoot, Brandon Miller is a good player. I don't know if he'll be a superstar, but he could be.
So, over-under of prospect tapes you have watched, I want to say 3 hours. Have you watched more than 3 hours of prospect tape since the draft to see how these guys are going to fit on their new team? I'm saying way over.
Oh, yeah, for sure, way over. I mean, I was watching prospect tapes, but then I was also watching some Jaden Springer G League and end of season with the Sixers, getting excited about him.
Well, you're digging deep.
I've been since the draft. Oh, yeah.
So we're supposed to have 4-man rotation tonight. Gotta bring on the third horseman, my man, the good looking Josh Isles. Where's he at?
What's up, guys?
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good. I think this is I just want to immediately point this out. I think this is the first show that me and Tony have been on at the same time.
Wow. I thought we were like I thought you two were like putting two magnets together. It wasn't going to happen.
No, I think I just sensed the energy. I knew Tony was going to, need a little space for a minute, so I needed to jump in and fill the gap, and now we're all one big happy family.
Yeah, I dig it. We've gotten a lot of commentary from Tony on our from Anthony Garfalo on our Facebook page, which is refreshing because this is one of the most knowledgeable dudes when it comes to basketball. So maybe we're all putting this together. We got both views on screen at the same time. We got a lot of energy flowing on the Facebook page at Undrafted Hoops, and I'm excited for this show. So the championship's over. It feels like it's been months since the championship, and it was literally 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
we got this fresh group of faces, all drafted, 58 picks 3 nights ago, and then we just had an overload of trades thrown on our shoulders. So we're 6 minutes into the show, and I want to dive right in to a lot of these trades and draft grades from some of the better teams in this draft. And we're going to mix in the trades in between because, a lot of it coincides with one another. But obviously, without overdoing it, San Antonio Spurs, Victor Wembanyama, there was no mystery. Everybody knew it since the day the lottery was done. Josh, I'm going to start with you on Victor. Now that it's finalized and we know he's the face of San Antonio, like I said, we all knew before, are you officially excited now knowing that he's probably going to make an appearance in the summer league, and we're finally going to see this guy with the black and silver on?
Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm not like, I think they're going to take him real light in the summer league. Probably put him out there 15 or 20 minutes and a couple games and call it a day. But overall, I think it's just such a good fit. Like when they got the number 1 pick, I was so excited to see that just because we're already seeing it with the picture of him out to dinner with all the Spurs legends. Like he's going to get so much good advice and he's going to be miles ahead of the next guy going to a different franchise where you don't have that,
Yeah, there's some stability there.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think big picture, it's exciting to see how it's going to play out,
Now, everybody thought he was kind of committed to the FIBA France team, and he was kind of uncommitted to the summer league. And now that he's a professional NBA basketball player, the roles kind of reversed. Tony, are you a little bummed out about his FIBA announcement the other day?
I was, but then I realized I looked up the schedule for the national team, and they had 7 friendlies in 3 weeks, traveling to multiple places. That was even before World Cup. So then he was going to be missing almost 2 months with the Spurs. He claims the Spurs did not tell him to miss FIBA. It was his decision. He realized, he talked to his team, this is the best for us. So I respect it. He'll play years down the road. Rookies normally never play because teams say, no, you're not playing. So
yeah, France is stacked.
Bummed, but it's the right move.
France is stacked.
Do you know why I wore this today, though? Do you know why I wore this today?
Today? No.
Well, let me tell you, because we're talking about Victor. I haven't bought a rookie's jersey. I haven't bought a rookie's jersey since this jersey, and that includes 76ers, and I'm diehard. I'm getting a Victor jersey. Nice. I'm putting that out there in the universe. I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to hold on. It ain't worth nothing, but it's the novelty of when there's a guy this good, there's a prospect this good, and you're excited for him, like Tony G, for instance. Like Tony G was with Luka. He went out and bought his autographed basketball because he said, guys like this don't come around. So I want to be a part of it from the start. I don't want to be a hater or find reasons not to root for the guy. This guy I'm genuinely excited to watch. And I don't want to overdo the conversation with him because if you put on television, his smile is everywhere. So I kind of want to touch on a couple other teams real quick. The Dallas Mavericks is a team that I just mentioned Luka to Tony. They had options, but they were limited options based on moving salary, and obviously they tanked to get the number 12 pick or the number 10 pick. But they made some moves. They trade back to 2 spots with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they get Derek Lively. And then in that move, they were able to clear off Davis Bertans' contract, which is like however they made that happen is just absolutely incredible. And then they also make another move, which was unexpected. They make a deal with the Kings where they acquire Rashawn Holmes with the mid-level exception that they got in a trade. And they trade for Prosper, Another big man. Tony, Dallas Mavericks. What is your draft grade on them? Coming out and kind of unexpectedly made some moves in the draft on draft day. Sorry.
Including the trade and A for me. They hit on.
Oh yeah, you got to include the trades.
Yeah, so you include that trade, it's 100% an A. If you would have told me that they would have fell back 2 spots and dumped Bertan's contract, I would have thought you were crazy before the draft. So that move was amazing in itself. Then you get fit. You get Derek Lively, he's a rim runner. He'll be able to pick and roll and pick and pop. Local kid, went to Westtown High School. He was actually the number 1 recruit, but didn't play much at Duke. Did so well at the combine with his numbers and his pro days. He shot really well, so he got bumped up. Congrats.
Said he stretched the floor a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, he did great shooting in his pro days, and that really had people sold. And then Max Prosper, who is another Canadian basketball player. He went to the NBA Academy down in Mexico. So there's another guy came from that pipeline, and he's another guy that he kind of is like Dorian Finney-Smith type.
He's coming back
way more raw. And but he has way more upside.
Josh, do you think the addition of these bigs? Do you think that now that Dwight Powell is a free agent, do you think they're probably going to move on from him?
Yeah, I thought they were going to do that regardless, but this just further confirms it, I think. I mean, I just kind of like side with everything Tony said about it, and I just think that they made all the right moves as far as moving around money and trying to get a little more defensive minded and a little bigger. I think those things were glaringly necessary this offseason for them, and they've already done a lot for that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Tony. I give them an A right out of the gate. I mean, obviously you have to pair this great draft with bringing Kyrie Irving back, and I think that's the move that needs to be made. And you know what? I honestly don't think it's the last move they make, because they still have assets in Tim Hardaway they can move. I mean, I know they don't want to get rid of Josh Green, but I know that if they're trying to build something in Dallas. So if the right offer comes up, it's about matching the offseason with the free agency with the draft. Another team where the draft might impact their free agency is the Sacramento Kings, because the Sacramento Kings made a trade we just mentioned with Dallas to unload Rashawn Holmes, and it possibly freed up close to $30 million in free agency money, just depending on what cap holds they end up holding on to and releasing. Tony, give me a little bit about the Kings draft, because I wasn't really sure with what they did, and I want to touch on what you think they might do once free agency opens up.
So they traded back, so I think they got a few second rounders too. But then they got Colby Jones, who I had in the end of first round, and who is out of Xavier. He plays the pace of the Kings. He's a very good defender. He got his 3-point shot up last year. Big fan of his. And then Jalen Slauson, I had him in like the 40s. They got him in 55th pick, who's like a hustle guy, tweener between 3 and 4. Potentially can get minutes from your 55th pick, so that's decent. But then when you get that salary, now they either have money to pay Harrison Barnes, bring him back, or they bring over their European stud MVP of the EuroLeague, Sasha Vezenkov, who is once around 10 million due to taxes, and he has back fees, which he probably is deserved. He probably is worth that contract. So I'm hoping we get to see him.
Is he a starter? Is he a starting five?
We're going. He's 4. He's 25 minutes a game if he's not a starter. People say he needs the ball. It's the complete opposite with this guy. He literally dribbled, I think, under 100 times in EuroLeague, and he was the MVP. He cuts. He's a great three-point shooter. He would fit perfectly in that system. Hopefully we see him.
So Josh, I mentioned that the Kings unexpectedly have some money to spend. I just want to hit you with a hypothetical, and I want you to tell me what you think when I ask you this. Draymond Green Kings as a favorite to land Draymond Green. Obviously, Golden State's the sexy pick, and everyone thinks he's going to go back. But give me your insight on a Draymond Green fit for that team.
I mean,
oh, big sigh. He's thinking about it.
I don't love it. I can see how it could work and how he could fit there and how he could work for that offense. But I don't know. I'm not in love with that fit. I think if Draymond, for Draymond, I think it's either he's gonna stay in Golden State or go play with LeBron. I think that's what it's going to come down to, honestly.
So that's the overall consensus. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I kind of want to put people in that thought process of, can his assistant coach Mike Brown, can he say, we think we're a championship team. We were second in the West last year. We hung tight with Golden State. But defensively, we were lacking. For me, if you're talking about starting a potential 4-5 next to Sabonis and a guy who doesn't demand the ball, because let's be honest, Sacramento doesn't need scoring. Fox, Monk, Sabonis is going to give you his 18. Keegan Murray's going to get better. And then in terms of defense, you still got Davion Mitchell. I'm putting it out in the universe because I think it has legs, especially with this newfound salary cap money. Look, the chances are slim, but I want people to think about it because, in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense for them. If you're gonna make a move where you unload Rashawn Holmes and pull up $30 million of cap space, remember, Sabonis is a free agent. He's playing on an expiring deal. So after this season, you got to pay that man. You got to bring him the bag that's inside of another bag based off of how he's been playing lately. So I think when teams start looking at free agency, I think Sacramento Kings only make certain moves to make another move. And I think that we're in that range. Like you've heard them mention with Bradley Beal, and I think they might be mentioned with other guys too. So I just want to put that out there. I want to keep it moving. Sorry to get tied up on that. Let's talk about Portland. The overall consensus was if Scoot falls to them at 3, we might see a domino effect where Portland moves on from Damian Lillard. Tony, I know you're completely exhausted from this conversation because you can't go on NBA Twitter without seeing it. Let's talk about Portland's draft first, and then possibly, did the draft spell out Lillard's future, cryptically, or are we still in the unsure territory with them? But give me a little bit about the Blazers, and tell me what you thought from them.
I give it an A+ draft for me. I
A+.
absolutely love Scoot. He's generational. Yeah, I mean, this is on my draft board. I had Ryan Rupert 15th. He went 43. That's the one guy I was consensus like way higher than anyone. The guy was incredible in the NBL. Was picking up 94 feet against the best defenders in the league. He can't shoot great, but shooting can be taught. So, look, you can't teach that kind of length in defense. So that's where I get him for the draft. With
how's Keegan Murray's brother?
He is very good. He shoots the three well. He's a lefty, pure stroke.
Sorry, my thing cut out. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, he should be able to play instantly, give them good minutes. Really good pick at that 23, I believe, 23, 24.
What did these 3 picks tell you? Because Portland made no moves to improve their roster. And they say that they're still committed to building a team around Lillard. Are they just saying that to try to bump up the value for the guy? Because in my opinion, the draft told me the complete opposite of what they're saying.
So I said if they get Scoot, you're going to trade Lillard. But I genuinely think they are really talking with Dame and trying to find people to
Damn, I'm
bring
turning
over. But I just don't know. The thing is like I just don't know what they're going to get without giving up Sharp or Scoot. Like what can they possibly get that gives them a championship caliber? So I'm really hoping they do trade Dame because it would be the best for their franchise, and then Scoot will be able to have a hell of a rookie season.
So, yeah, I'm on board with total rebuild around Scoot. Josh, do you think that they're just hyping up Lillard's trade value? And with that being said, if you do agree, give me a list of like 3 or 4 teams you think have a realistic shot at getting Lillard.
Yeah, so I think at the least they're not trying to like necessarily pipe up his trade value by doing that, but they're not trying to decrease it by saying that. As far as teams go, I think everybody's kind of mentioned this team. You've definitely, but like the Sixers are a destination where I think you could make it work, depending on what you're packaging. Multiple ways you could go with that. Maxey. You could go with Harris, depending on what you're putting in the deal. The Sixers, what the other obvious one was the Miami Heat.
Give me a surprise team. I know it's not something you necessarily think about because there's so many swirling rumors. But Tony, how about you? Do you have a surprise team? I'm pulling up my list here, and I kind of just want to. I kind of want to just freelance this one.
The Spurs was one I mentioned on a previous show.
Surprise, I think the Nets, but that's not really a surprise.
Yeah, because of the whole Bridges dynamic. Like, are they gonna build around Bridges, or are they gonna try and bring in a big name? I mean, I think they should just build around Bridges, but if you're gonna bring Lillard to Brooklyn, you don't trade Bridges away. You try to bring Lillard to play with Bridges. You know what I'm saying?
For sure, he would be 100% to play with Bridges.
Do you think so? Most likely, you have to say it would be assumed a sign and trade with like a Cam Johnson type.
Yep, and then a bunch of picks.
Is there any chance a team like the Pelicans can get into this conversation? Can we see a CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard team again?
They have the assets to do it. So that would be the sleeper team for sure because it makes
I have another one.
sense.
Hold on. So it does make sense. If you could get if they're not sold on Zion Williamson and Portland's ready to take a flyer on a potential MVP guy. I mean, you think about Scoot Henderson running the floor with Zion Williamson and Sharp and possibly Jeremy Grant. Bro, it's going to be hard to keep the basketball on the floor with a team like that. So, as a surprise, I'm saying, I mean, I'm like rooting for it out of my own interest. Like, I would love to see CJ and Dame reunited with a Brandon Ingram front. That would be dope. You know what I'm saying? Josh is over there smirking away, bro. He's got some.
That is a blockbuster suggestion. That is like I thought when you were talking about the Pelicans, you were saying like somehow they were gonna keep Zion, but man, sending Zion, that would be a crazy trade. I wonder how they would put that together.
I mean, money wise, it matches. I mean,
but they
even have guys like Trey Murphy and all they could throw in, or Herb Jones.
You almost say that Zion would hold more trade value because of how much younger he is.
Well, I mean, you also have to weigh in the uncertainty of he hasn't played in fucking, if he hasn't played a full season yet. So, like, his trade value, yeah, like marketability wise, it's there, but it's like, in my opinion, I mean, it kind of works for both teams. Like, why, this other thing with the, off the court stuff with Zion is definitely worrisome. People, they sink a lot of money in these guys. So when they're involved in so much off the court activity, it's like it weighs on a franchise because, you're going to pay a guy $250 million and he's talking about fucking porn stars and baby mama stuff. And it's like, come on, like we're trying to play basketball. We're trying to talk basketball here. So that is one surprise team. The other surprise team that is slept on in every conversation is the Oklahoma City Thunder. One, because they have the most assets in all of the NBA. And me and Tony G have been saying it for the last couple of years now. It comes a time and a point where you have to take 6 assets, put them in a bundle, and say, we want this guy. You put Shea Gilgeous next to Damian Lillard, and you got a serious problem. Like, that is serious. That, like, if I'm playing against them the next day, I can't sleep. Quick thought. Oklahoma City Thunder. No way Damian Lillard, or it might have legs.
I would say it has legs. I agree with you 100% with the whole OKC trading for the guy. I don't know if it's Dame, but if it's not Dame next year they're all in. Yeah, because SGA has the ball a lot in the fourth. It's a lot of one-on-one. Like teams cannot stop the guy, so it's like, I mean, you can play Lillard off the ball actually, but hey, if it happens. You know how much I love OKC. That I have the league pass up every night.
That would be. Yeah, I know. Let's hit on 2 more teams, and then I want to talk about some trades. Another team we were big on pre-draft is, I know Josh loves the Indiana Pacers. Is Indiana? They had a few draft picks to deal with, and people thought that they might have had a trade or 2 in the works. They end up making a couple of little trades on draft day to move up and move down. But they end up going with Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd. Tony, give me a little insight on both of these guys. And Josh, I'm going to swing it over to you for a quick question on Indiana.
Jarris Walker's one of them guys who won at every level. He decided to go to Houston, so he didn't have as much free range as he will in the NBA. So I don't think people realize like what type of package he has. Defensively, he can switch on 1 through 5, which is cool. Really like his mindset too. Like pair him with Halliburton. Like those are young guys who just want to win and want to get better. And then Ben Shepherd, I love this dude. He shoots. He has unlimited range. He makes all the right back cuts. Perfect style. I know people say it's crowded there, but hey, it's fine to be crowded. They can make a trade if they want, or they could stand pat and just figure out their rotation over 82 games. There's no rush. I mean, I love what Indiana's doing.
Yeah, I honestly thought it was a big draft for them with the 2 higher picks, and it seems like they drafted for need. And with the big man and the 3-point shooter, do you think though, Josh? Do you think with adding these 2 positional players, do you think it kind of? I mean, we've seen Buddy Hield's name mentioned in 50 trade rumors over the last 1.5 seasons. Do you think with the addition of Shepherd and the emergence of Mathurin, do you think that they're probably going to be mentioned with trade talks probably throughout the entire free agency?
Yeah. I mean, you took that thought right out of my brain. It's like before we even got into it, that's immediately where I was jumping to was that they're probably going to look to move on from Hield, and even if they don't this year, then they're obviously still preparing for that in the short-term future, I think. So those draft picks kind of tell that, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, and they're another team looking at anywhere between $20 and $27 million in free agency. I mean, if you look at need, if you look at overall need and what's available, a lot of free agents fit what they possibly need to get into that playoff. Let's not forget that prior to the end of the season, Indiana they were knocking on the door to play in, and people were like, hold up a second. I thought they were going to win less than 30 games. And I think they ended up winning right around, 32, 33 games at the end of the season. But they've shown that they're not too far off. Tony, do you think, we've mentioned this on the podcast before, Hield and Turner possibly traded. Do you think that this draft said anything about that, or are we still in that, let's see what their value is? Because we just seen a couple trades go down, and the value was, it was ass. So when you got guys with – the difference is Hield's expiring and Miles Turner's on a great contract. I think if you could package Turner at the right time, you can get tremendous value back because of how franchise-friendly his contract is. Do you think with the Indiana having some cap space, are you seeing this draft as being a potential, roster shakeup for Indiana?
I don't think they'll trade Miles Turner unless it's one of them crazy deals, not almost Rudy Gobert-esque, not quite as much because they like him so much for their system, and he likes it there, and it's just perfect for what they do. So now they're going to say for him, they're going to need the house or not. With Buddy Hield, I say you listen to calls because you have all these wings. You got Aaron Naismith, Nemhard, the other guys you touched on. He will have value at the deadline. So you could, if you're not getting the right price for Buddy Hield, you go out, you play how many games it is to the deadline, see where you're at. If the Pacers are doing well, maybe keep him and try to go as far as possible. Or if he's doing well and the Pacers aren't, then you sell at the highest point. So that's where I'm at with the Pacers. I don't think they need to be in a rush to trade anyone, but
they also have TJ McConnell on a $9 million deal. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that they're going to be major players in free agency. But in terms of the draft, I give them a solid B plus. Like I said, they didn't reach. They just took need, and I thought that was very important. One team I want to touch on before I get into the Utah Jazz because they made a big move today. They had a very good draft. I want to ask a quick question about the Los Angeles Lakers. It was rumored that the Lakers were going to try and move their pick. I think it was 17, and expiring contract to try and bring back somebody that can make a difference and make an impact right away. They ended up not making any moves, and they were quiet on the phones the entire day. But they go out and draft a kid from Indiana, Jalen Hood-Schifino, and I want you to give me a little bit of insight on him and how you think he might, or if he's going to impact the roster at all this year. Let me hear what you got.
Ooh, okay. Storm outside had to all lag for a second. I'm back. Hood Schifino, I wasn't too high on him. And especially for the Lakers, fit wise, because he plays a lot of on ball and he's not a great shooter. I think he can be good, but for what they need right now with 17, you're gonna bring Reeves back. I don't know. I just don't see him playing that much. But I loved what they did with getting Maxwell Lewis. I had him in the lottery for majority of the season.
Ooh.
And then I had him lottery
Gary in the building.
And then I had him late first round grade, and they got him at 40th. And then they made incredible signings the draft of guys I really like. So maybe the Lakers, Pelinka will find another undrafted gem. We'll see.
Yeah, I honestly, as what's up, Gary? I want to say what's up to you before I dive into this thought.
How y'all doing?
I'm happy you're on. Better late than never. We haven't touched on your Wizards yet, so I'm happy you got. I was holding off. I tried not to. You told me I don't care about the Wizards, but I do. I waited for you. I thought as Cam Whitmore was coming down the draft board, I thought the Lakers were going to pounce on that. But they didn't, obviously, and he ended up going to Houston, who had an unbelievable draft themselves. Has anybody here seen anything about Cam Whitmore and why he might have fell? Because I've seen him picked as high as 5, and he got picked 20th. So he made a statement about his body, I don't make my own decisions, blah, blah, blah. But has Josh or Gary, have you guys seen anything about why he might have fell?
I haven't seen the specifics on it, but I feel like there was some kind of concern with his physical that came back. I bet Tony knows more on this, but his comments in response to it about his drop and them asking him about that you just mentioned just kind of sounded defensive. I don't know. I can't remember exactly how it was worded. Can you remember how he said it?
It was along the lines of they asked him about his health being a red flag, and he said, they have their opinions, I have mine. I know how my body feels. I feel great. Blah blah blah.
Right.
There was no specifics behind it at all. But I love what Houston did. I love that they said, we got the 20th pick. We got the guy we really wanted at 4, even though we fell out of the top 3. And they said, let's just take a flyer on this kid because his upside's tremendous. Villanova has a great track record with guys coming into the league, kind of NBA ready. So I do like the fit for them. Tony, have you seen anything about it? It's been kind of ho-hum since it happened. So
it's been very vague with the injury thing with Cam Whitmore. Like you said, that was the quote. It was exactly in the ballpark of what he said. And I mean, but he tested well in the combine. So like whatever it is, it's worth it for Houston. The other teams must have got spooked out. But hey, go. I mean, I'm not a Rockets fan. Well, I'm not. You know what? Go Houston. Good job.
You're a Sengun fan, so I know you'll be watching them on League Pass this year. Gary, I waited for you, Gary.
Amen to it. Amen.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it.
I waited for you, Gary, for this one because coming into this, we talked about the Wizards going all in with the new front office. We talked about their ability to be able to make some moves, and they made some moves. And your roster is tremendously pointing in a different direction as, say, 2 weeks ago. I want to go right into the Wizards. We're going to bulk multiple trades into this conversation along with their draft because at one point I said, what the fuck are they doing? And then now that I'm kind of seeing the big picture, I've been really excited. So the first ball to drop was Bradley Beal. We broke it. Me, you, and Josh broke it live on one of our Spurs podcasts. Now that it's set in, Bradley Beal is no longer a Washington Wizard, right?
Correct.
Are you still feeling the same way you were the day it happened? What's your reaction now as opposed to where it was when it first happened?
My initial reaction was that, like you pull the metal thing over and the plate was empty. That was my initial reaction. But based off of the recent moves, I feel that they flipped Beal into some good assets. They dumped his contract. We got Chris Paul, and that was like a what are we doing move. Like, why are we rebuilding with a 38-year-old, 39-year-old?
Yes.
But we managed to somehow flip that 39-year-old.
What's up next shift?
23, 24-year-old young kid in Jordan Poole, who I'm super excited about having in DC. I think that's a great fun thing. He needed a fresh start. He's going to have the freedom to be able to play at will the way he wants to play. Because we're not expected to win right away. We're going to go through the learning curves, and I enjoy it. I like the move of Tyus Jones. I think he's a really good young piece. We have a great guard duo now, in my opinion. Not great, but a good young guard duo for the rebuild. I love the fact that next year we're going to have a ton of cap space. It's exciting. I like the way that they're going. I mean, I think they should keep Kuzma, probably build around him as well. I'm not his biggest fan, but he's a talented player, and if they can get him on the right number, I think it's okay.
So if you break down last season, you went into it, you had Monty Morris, you had Bradley Beal. This season, as you just mentioned, they go out and get Jordan Poole, and then they also get into the Kristaps Porzingis trade. They flip him to Boston, sends Marcus Smart to the Grizzlies. Boom. They land the best backup point guard in the NBA. Everybody thought he could start on numerous teams in the league.
You gotta love the Marcus Smart blue hair. I love it.
Jordan Poole lead this Washington Wizards team now. I'm going to touch on this. I'm going to touch on the Grizzlies in a second. Now that Porzingis goes to the Celtics, right? I'm sorry, I got distracted on the screen. Now that Porzingis goes to the Celtics, we know what Washington's backcourt looks like. But then they go out and draft. They trade up and they draft Bilal, Giannis' teammate, which kind of threw me off because they go out and get Tyus Jones and then they go get another point guard. Tony, I know you were high on Koulibaly going into the draft. Tell me what this does for Washington. Obviously he's young. Is this just Tyus Jones is going to kind of mentor him and him possibly being the face of the franchise going forward with Jordan Poole?
Yes, exactly. He's very, very raw. He was very good player, but at age 15, he was only 5'6". Then he grew to 6'3" at 17. Then at 17 to 18, he went 6'8". They're
That's
thinking,
insane.
we got Giannis. So they're saying, we're going to bring him in slow. But if this kid gets to 6'10", 6'11" with his fast and athletic, sky's the limit. So love Koulibaly. People are freaking out because he only averaged 5 points in the France league, but he wasn't in the rotation early, earned his stripes late. In the playoffs, he was incredible. He had 15 points one game in the finals. So yeah, they did an amazing job bringing in Tyus Jones, picked the highest upside guy, which I think they should. Really like the direction. I'm a little sad they stole Will Dawkins from OKC because that guy has the scouting eye of one of the best in the world. So, Gary, congratulations.
I'll be honest.
There's some direction in Washington.
At least I got somebody, because I wasn't super excited about the pick. So, I mean, time will tell.
Oh, absolutely, bro. Josh, you had put up the Memphis Grizzlies graphic, and the reason why I want to touch on it is because Marcus Smart was the big piece, one of the big pieces in this trade, and he goes to Memphis, right? The biggest knock on Memphis was they played the bully role, but it was kind of it felt like a facade at times with that team. With Marcus Smart replacing Dylan Brooks, obviously, on that team, they bring another defensive player of the year to their roster. Obviously, Steven Adams comes back with the Grizzlies, and they've already mentioned that they're probably going to look to keep Brandon Clark. How do you like the dynamic of Marcus Smart on that team?
You kind of got a little bit touched on it with replacing Dylan Brooks. Like, I think I said this to you that Marcus Smart is everything that Dylan Brooks like wants to be, but isn't. You know what I mean? Like that kind of like that attitude, like toughness type player that brings the defense and like can hit the big shot. That's what Marcus Smart is, but Dylan Brooks was kind of just a poser in that position, I think, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But now, like, I mean, the Grizzlies look tough. You got John Morant, and then he's surrounded by like some really, really good defensive players. 2 defensive player of the years. Steven Adams, who's definitely by no means a slouch in the post. He's a huge guy in the paint that gets a ton of rebounds and is going to defend the rim. So like
set some big screens.
Yeah, like it's a great thing that like they set up for their, if John Morant can get his head out of his butt and stop getting suspensions, they've got a good thing going here because he doesn't even have to like, they're setting it up so their superstar doesn't even have to like exert himself extensively on defense for them to be really good.
Yeah, it's one of the most slept on rosters in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're still unsure about the progression of Roddy. Aldama was a great surprise for them last season. And obviously you got Kennard, who played well in spots for them, and Bane. Both of them can shoot absolutely lights out. In my opinion, this move challenges Denver at the top. That's me. I think Memphis is going to be there all season. Obviously, the start of the season might be an issue without having John Morant for 25 games. Obviously, they've done well without John Morant in the past, but they had Tyus Jones leading. He's a Washington Wizard. I know Gary hates the Memphis Grizzlies. I know Gary. He's a Golden State fan, so I know.
Uh-oh. JB might have kicked out because of the
Oh
storm.
man, yo Gary, with this move, do you
No,
find yourself rooting against Memphis, or do you think this move kind
Are you getting the gist of that, Gary?
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like he was asking me if I was going to root against Memphis or start liking them a little more still. I mean, now that Dylan Brooks is gone, I feel like that's the main thing that makes a lot of people dislike Memphis. So Marcus Smart being there, I mean, it'll make it a little less, but I wasn't his biggest fan either. To be fair, I think Marcus Smart flops around like a fish out of water. But he is a great player. He's a hard-nosed player, like Josh touched on. He's everything Dylan Brooks wished he was and acted like he was. So, I mean, it's great for the team. I still won't be rooting for the Memphis Grizzlies. I think they're a really good team. Then they got 2 back-to-back Defensive Player of the Years. That's great. Like you said, they're gonna match up very well with the Nuggets. And they're gonna be at the top of the West all year. But if Steven Adams stays healthy, that team is dangerous because they were so good before he ended up getting hurt. And I think that injury played such a role in them getting bounced as easily as they did. You know what I mean? So, I think this move is great for Memphis.
And I think
I'm so happy. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I think too. If you also think about it this way, like as far as John Morant's 25-game suspension, as long as they can keep their heads above water during that time, that 25-game suspension, and enough that they're not going to like play themselves out of the playoffs, which they should be fine with that.
Yeah.
You look at it like a long-term thing that that's 25 less games that John Morant has on his legs once you get to the playoffs. Like like
point guard to replace him.
That's like 20 less guys he has to dunk on, too.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not trying to leap over LeBron James to block him and stuff this year. He can try and play a little safer.
He's going to try.
He's got a new challenge in Wemby.
So
dunk on him.
Yeah. Oh, wow. He's good. If he has the opportunity, he's going to press him. So there ain't no doubt about that.
Sure.
With Washington being the hub of all these trades, I do want to touch on Porzingis going to the Celtics. Tony, at first glance,
switch off. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Gary. Please.
I was gonna say the interesting thing with the Grizzlies is with them getting Marcus Smart. When Ja Morant comes back, does Desmond Bane move to like the 3 spot, the small forward spot, full time, or is Smart coming off the bench, or is Bane coming off the bench?
Bane will come off the bench, I think.
Okay. No, I was just curious on like opinions because I'm like, one of those guys is a really good player to be coming off the bench. And Desmond Bane would be.
Yeah, I think the NBA's trending towards matchups where certain games you're going to play 3 guards, and certain games you're going to have to be a little bit more creative with your rotations and when you're bringing certain guys in, because the league is just overloaded with talent right now. And I think like the more guys that can play versatile positions, the better off your team is. And I think that's what Marcus Smart allows you to do, guys like him. So that's kind of where I see it. But I think at the end of the game, you're going to see Ja Morant, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams in most scenarios. Obviously depending on matchup, but I think that's what you see. I want to go over, as the other part of the deal, was Kristaps Porzingis going to Boston. At first glance, I said Boston's the best team in the league because Kristaps Porzingis gives them what they were missing. Like, yes, they're going to lose out on Marcus Smart's grittiness and, his ability to play defense on multiple positions. Kristaps is a great fit next to Al Horford. I will die on that hill. Tony, I haven't heard from you in a bit, and we've talked about this deal on the side. I want you to tell people kind of what you like about this Porzingis deal, or what you don't like about it.
Okay, so I absolutely love the deal for Celtics. I seen people saying something about not the ideal fit. Literally, their bigs stand in the corner. It's Tatum, Brown getting spots, find, draw defense, and kick to a big. Porzingis is going to feast from the 3-point line. He's not going to be taking long twos. He's not going to be getting, like, people think he's going to have an issue with not getting the ball all the time. Don't see it as a problem at all. Defensively, he's a different defender as Smart, but he will help the back end for them. And with Porzingis, if Robert Williams gets healthy, sometimes you can play Porzingis and Williams, and then like vice versa. So
Yes.
you just have a trio of bigs rotating that fit the system perfectly.
Yes, I agree. It does improve their rotation with them guys. Josh, I know Grant Williams, he was a good part for the Boston Celtics the last couple seasons, but he's a free agent also. Would you say that this Porzingis move most likely kind of eliminates him from the Celtics' future plans?
I wouldn't say entirely.
They also lost Gallinari, too.
Yeah, I wouldn't say entirely, especially like Grant Williams is going to play a little bit more three than Porzingis would too. So it just depends on like what how the money works and everything. And I don't think they're going to break the bank to keep Grant Williams around.
No, definitely not. And I'm kind of curious I have actually no idea what his market's going to be.
Is it a market like Bruce Brown's would be leaving Denver, or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't think it is. I think Bruce Brown's due to get paid a little bit right now.
Yeah, I think he's going to get at least $10 million.
He turned down like a $44 million offer, I believe it was, in the middle of the season from Boston.
Williams.
Yeah, it was like 4 years, $44 million, and he turned it down, thinking he maybe can go get more.
There's money all over in the NBA. $15 million a season.
Yeah, man. They're definitely.
Yeah, it's chump change nowadays. $10 million.
Yeah.
I don't blame him. He might be on the way out. They might still be mad at him for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So another piece of this gigantic puzzle of 3-team trades and moving players around, it kind of got lost in the shuffle. And I haven't, like, the more I think about it, or if I've talked about it with people off the podcast, I say it to myself and I say, how hasn't Chris Paul to Golden State gotten any traction? Like, I also don't watch ESPN or Fox Sports 1, or I'm an NBA Twitter guy. I'm an undrafted hoops guy. I create my own content. And I'll tell you what, even at undrafted, I think we've undercovered Chris Paul to the Warriors, because I don't think people understand how he fits with that team. Now, Gary, I know you're as big of a Steph Curry fan as I am. I know that Tony G highly rates Steph Curry in the all-time greats list like I do. Man, when you heard this, knowing that the Wizards were involved in the trade, what's your initial reaction on Chris Paul joining Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, bro?
At first, I mean, I'm somewhat like, I got to figure out the dynamic of the situation, because it's like you already got the best point guard in the history of the game, and now you're adding Chris Paul. So I'm trying to figure out, is Chris Paul coming off the bench to lead the second unit? I mean, that's my guess. I don't know how they're going to implement. There's going to be times where he's going to be on the floor with Steph and Klay, but I feel like the trade hasn't gotten a ton of traction simply because look at the playoffs. People were complaining that CP3 was a cone, for the Suns, and he was holding them back. And I don't know how he's going to go open up the Warriors and turn them around. So I think, it's more so about Chris Paul's falling off and how he got hurt in the playoffs. People just aren't really too high on him at the moment. So it's one of those wait and see how it turns out. I'm not sure. His leadership is going to make a big difference. He's around a ton of young kids on that team as well, which is going to help a lot. But it's going to take some pressure off of Steph and Clay if they can manage to get them running around screens and Chris Paul just finding them open.
Yeah, I mean, in my life, two of the best off-ball players I've ever watched play basketball are Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Steph Curry might have the hardest defensive assignment in the league because he's nonstop running.
Yeah, and now you have one of the best playmakers in the history of the NBA playing with him. I think that we label Steph Curry as a point guard, and he obviously is a point guard that scores more than he passes. And that's like Allen Iverson was a point guard, but he was really a shooting guard. Curry is a better point guard than Allen Iverson was. But I think now, I mean, we've seen Draymond Green distribute the ball for this team, and it's worked. It's worked for 4 championships. Now you put a guy like Chris Paul on the floor developing opportunities for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. I mean, if I'm planning to play them, I'm having fucking nightmares thinking how we're going to stop Curry and Klay Paul. Josh, I know you're also a big Golden State guy. I'm kind of curious because we haven't even discussed this in private yet. Are you as I am for this this development?
Yes. And the more we've just talked about it, it actually got me more excited about it, honestly. My initial thoughts were I loved it because of what Gary kind of touched on.
That's what I like to hear.
Gary touched on the, him kind of running the second unit. And immediately when they got him, I thought of, some of the Warriors championship teams where the second unit was run by Andre Miller and Sean Livingston and these veteran guards that play half-court style basketball that just run the offense. And Chris Paul is a better version of those two at this stage in his career. But since we've been talking about this in the past few minutes, and you're talking about Steph Curry playing off the ball, which I think they want to keep moving him to playing more off the ball as he continues to extend his career. I could see the Warriors going out there and starting Chris Paul. I think they could. And I think it would be dangerous for the reasons you also said, the Draymond distribution, but it's from a different angle. It's the point guard and one of the best facilitators in the game and two of the best off-ball guys that have ever played basketball.
So I seen a stat when all these trades started happening. It said every team Chris Paul ever got traded to improved their record, and every team he got traded from, the very next season, their record, went down. And I've mentioned this. I've mentioned this.
He's not like a big playoff success guy, It's interesting for that.
Well, a lot of his playoff success or a lot of his playoff failures were due to injuries. And I think that Golden State is going to not overuse Chris Paul. I think that they're going to be very mindful of that. And obviously this trade wasn't to play Chris Paul in Game 55 of the regular season. It was to play him in the playoffs. Tony, I want to run something by you because I said to Josh, Draymond Green to Sacramento. And the reason why I think that has legs is because Draymond Green turned down his player option with Golden State, and you don't do that unless you think you're going to get paid close to that. Now, I don't think Golden State is in the position to pay him and then having to end up paying guys like Kuminga and Moody in the next couple years. Just thinking about player fit, we're talking about Chris Paul becoming the playmaker for Golden State, with the possibility of losing Draymond. Do you think the Chris Paul acquisition has anything to do with the possibility of Draymond Green leaving them?
No, I think it was actually to keep Draymond because Chris Paul's contract is up next year. I think they're Kuminga and Moody. They aren't really high on, so they don't mind, letting those guys kind of walk. The era of Myers at the end. He didn't have a great draft. They're kind of just going to let his guys dwindle out or maybe try to trade them. And I think some of the reason this Chris Paul deal didn't get too much buzz is because there was rumors of possibly Golden State looking to reflip him. And also at one point people were saying they were going to release him, which it does not seem like it's going to happen now. So I don't know. It's an interesting for me. It really depends on if Chris Paul can hit threes at a high clip, if he can play with the starters, because a lot of teams are going to run a junk defense and leave him open a ton. If he can hit threes with 5-10 feet separation, sky's the limit. Golden State's dangerous, and we're watching a 39-year-old Chris Paul make a deep run with the legends. And that would just be great for the league, viewers. So I hope it works out. I do have a few.
So sorry, your mic cut out. That's why I talked over you. Sorry.
It's all good.
I see Wiggins at the 4 with that team. I see Chris Paul, Curry, Klay Thompson, Wiggins, and Looney as being the possible nucleus of that team next season. But I think that obviously there's so many things that still could happen. Draymond Green would be the big domino for them. I think the Jordan Poole thing that they did was probably necessary for their locker room. But as free agency progresses, we're going to know a lot more about Golden State. But I don't know. At first glance, I love Chris Paul. I'm one of his biggest fanatics. Injuries have decimated his career, or at least his playoff success. And I'm rooting for him. I'm a Sixers fan, but I've watched more Golden State Warriors basketball than almost Sixers games over the last 12 years. So I find myself rooting for them, and this move just furthers that for me. We've surpassed an hour. There's a couple other teams I want to touch on, so we're probably going to bleed into this hour and 20-minute range if you guys don't mind, because we got to touch on the Utah Jazz.
Love the Jazz.
You love the Jazz. I love hearing that because – yeah, I mean, a year ago, they had Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and people thought they were a legitimate championship contender for a brief season. And then COVID happened. Everything just went into the blender for that team, and they got offered an insane package for Rudy Gobert. And then they traded for Markkanen, and people were – it was like out of the blue. They trade Donovan Mitchell, who was looking to be their franchise guy. But their rebuild has been, I don't know, one of the most interesting in the NBA. Tony, let's touch on their draft. And Gary, I want to touch on some of the things you really like from Utah. Tell me a little bit about their draft. They draft 3 guys, Hendricks, Sensabaugh, and Kenyonte George. Give me a little bit about these guys, and Gary, I want to hear about these guys from you, and if you have anything on them also.
So, yeah, I watched a ton of Hendricks. He is a very long 4, elite rim protector, and he stretches. Not the best finisher, but that won't matter. You have Walker Kessler. Once Hendricks hits his ceiling, you have Walker Kessler as your big. So he'll be more perimeter oriented, and that rim protection will be incredible at its peak. Really love Hendricks' game. George, he was the most hit or miss prospect for me. He was super inefficient, but in game, he had games where he completely took over, and you'd be like, this guy's. If you just watched that game, you like easily top 5 pick, where he just dominated and not miss shots. But then I see him go 1 for 13 other nights. But it's a good pick for the Jazz because he can create his own shot. He's a bucket getter. Kind of need that. So if he can hit his stride, that will be a great pick. And then Sensible, Jazz were actually thinking about trading up for him. So for him to fall all the way there, that's incredible. He gives me a lot of TJ Warren vibes. So good one-on-one. He's a way better shooter than TJ coming out.
I like the comp.
The one thing I think he has 2 meniscus surgeries already, which is a little concerning. I think that's why he fell. But
absolutely,
when you're where the Jazz are at 28, if you're taking a gamble pick with that kind of talent, I gotta love it. And then the Jazz has put one of my favorite undrafted player, Tavion Kinsey's on their summer league. 6'5" from Marshall. Marshall's all-time leading scorer. Unbelievable dunker. Good, really good defender. Only thing is he lacks a jump shot and he's only 6'5". But hey, he's undrafted. Just shout out to my guy. Watch him in summer league. Hopefully he tears it up.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know too much about the guys they pick, but I have watched a couple videos on Hendricks and Sensible since they picked them and trying to get a good feel into where they fit. Gary, have you watched any of their draft picks? I know you're a big college basketball guy.
Not too familiar with the third guy. I have seen a little bit of Sensible, and I have seen quite a bit of Hendricks. Hendricks was pretty mainstream a lot of the year, and he was, jumping up draft boards. So, I mean, they definitely got some exciting draft picks and things to look forward to. I'm just such a huge fan of Walker Kessler, personally, a guy they drafted last year. I remember when they made the Rudy Gobert trade last year. To me, it was like you traded Rudy for Rudy and got 4 first-round picks on top of it because Walker Kessler is so good under the rim. The man blocks so many shots, gets his rebounds. He's just like Rudy, but he's 21, he's super young. I watched a lot of him at Auburn. So I had a big feeling that he was going to turn out. I think I talked to it with you guys, even when the trade went down that year. And they got so many assets for Donovan Mitchell and Rudy that you can even miss on a few first round picks and you're bound to get a few studs out of it. I mean, I love Clarkson. I'm a big Clarkson guy. I'm pretty sure Colin Sexton, I believe he's a free agent. So he's probably going to go somewhere else.
Last year, I think he's on the last year.
Got them confused. Last year? Clarkson's the free agent. Sexton, they're looking to trade.
Okay, so I had it backwards. All right. But, I mean, I just like the direction they went. Like last year, Markkanen played amazing. I love how they just got John Collins on a very good trade as well. They've managed to find these good, talented players on, like, the clearance rack, it's crazy to me. Markkanen ended up an all-star. John Collins can go back to all-star form as well. He just needed a change of scenery. So I just love what Utah's doing. I think that they got a lot to look forward to out there.
Yeah, I think a lot of people slept on Markkanen. I think a lot of people think he's a bona fide 4, but he played a lot of 3 for Utah last year. Josh, do you think the dynamic before I ask this, Tony, is Kelly Olynyk still under contract with Utah?
He is. So that they might actually get, if they trade Kelly Olynyk, they might get more for Kelly Olynyk than they traded for Collins. I mean, and if not, he fits. Come off.
Last year, Olynyk, Kessler, and Markkanen played a lot of lineups together, and they were actually high up in the plus-minus column. Josh, do you like the dynamic of maybe running Laurie, Collins, and Kessler at the 3, 4, and 5 for them? Or do you think that's you're not a fan of that dynamic? I think it's a pretty nice fit.
I think, depending on like the matchups and the fit, but realistically, I think it's just better using those three rotationally, where like depending on the matchups, all three of those guys can play 4 or 5, where you can have Markkanen and Collins, Markkanen and Kessler, Kessler and Collins, and all those versions of it. And then you mix in Olenek into the mix where he could give you 20 minutes, 25 minutes if he needed to, if one of those guys gets in foul trouble. So their bigs are like, you guys have all touched on it, but they have nice interchangeability. They're versatile. So I also like what the Jazz are doing.
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at times last year we were thinking that they were going to challenge for the play, and they kind of want to say tanked towards the end of the season. But I'm definitely I'm looking forward to seeing how they progress with a few new faces in their lineup, few new young faces. Got rid of Rudy Gay. I mean, I sometimes I forget he's still in the league. He feels like he's 58. Should be playing in the big 3. But I don't even think he plays with the Atlanta Hawks next season, but we'll see. Look, I went through my whole list. I got one more thing to touch on. Is there anything that you guys want to touch on draft or free agency as we get into the end of this week?
I think we hit on a lot tonight.
One last comment
from
me would probably be touching back to the Porzingis thing, because I didn't really say much, but I think that, like you said, Porzingis I think that puts them at the favorites definitely to win the East. I believe Porzingis is an amazing fit in Boston, like you said. I mean, I watched a lot of him in DC, and he played 65 games last year. If you can get 60, 65 games out of him, that's amazing for Boston. And, he's like a younger, more athletic Al Horford in a sense, like not quite as defensive, obviously, but he can get on the outside. He can move around. He can shoot. I love the fit. I think it's great. Boston fans should be happy for that one.
He's gonna be a fan favorite in Boston for sure. One of the reasons, Gary, why I said they were going to be the favorite, and I actually want to touch on this real quick. Milwaukee has a ton of question marks. Chris Middleton opted out of his deal, and Brook Lopez is a free agent. Are we looking at a shakeup in Milwaukee, or are we looking at something that nobody's talking about, a possible sign and trade? Chris Middleton, he still has some value. Maybe not to Milwaukee, but maybe to another team. With them possibly taking a step back, I think this catapults Boston. I really do.
Milwaukee's in a tough spot because those two guys, you have to decide if you're going to commit long-term to Brook Lopez and Chris Middleton before you even know if Giannis is going to commit to you, because he's not eligible to sign, I believe, until September or October. I think it's this year, but you got to commit to those guys before Giannis even has to make a decision for you. So that's a tough situation.
I think – sorry, your mic cut out on me, Gary.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was saying it's just tough that they have to decide to commit to Middleton and Brook before they even know if Giannis is going to decide to commit to them long-term.
I think free agency, opens up Friday? Thursday or Friday?
I think it's Friday.
I think it's Friday. I think Milwaukee has a spot. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
No, I just said I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I think Milwaukee's a team that has a magnifying glass on them. We're coming up on an hour and 30. Like I said, I blew through most of our draft stuff. The one thing I do want to touch on is on our Facebook page, we're having one of our best 30-day runs that we've had in our 5 years. and Josh, I'll touch on Kai Soto in a second because I do want to touch on our Facebook page because yes, we are doing the podcast, Orlando baby, but our Facebook is where we started our foundation. It's where we've really kind of cemented our feet into how NBA Finals ended. We took Nikola Jokic.
Oh, the pauses.
I know, right? The best part, too.
Took Nikola Jokic. I might have to take over for Joe. So we took Nikola Jokic. Joe, are you there?
I'm here.
There you go. You glitched out at just when you were starting to say his name.
I'm in the middle of a crazy thunderstorm in PA. But we took Jokic and we compared him to some of the greats in the history of the NBA. And what we actually did, 8 seasons overall, and we kind of wanted to show you where Jokic compares to them through their first 8 seasons. Because a lot of times we say, like, is Jokic better than this guy? Is Jokic better than that guy? And, I mean, let's be honest, Jokic is 28 years old. So it's hard to compare him a guy that played 15 seasons in the NBA. These have sparked insane conversations with people. We've put them up against Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Yao Ming, Dwight Howard, Moses Malone, Joel Embiid, and it's drummed up some great conversation. So if you're not on our Facebook page, make sure you go to it, Undrafted Hoops. Please hit the like button and check out some of these great threads, because in spite of some of the stupid comments made in them, there's been some really good conversation in where Jokic ranks. Like, Tony, I know you and Gary have both said on this podcast that you could put Jokic into the top 5 in centers when it's all said and done. In some of these conversations we've had with people, they're not even considering it. We're a week since 10 days since the NBA championship. Are you sitting back now and saying, like, let me pump the brakes on this dude? Or are you still like pedal to the metal? I want to challenge any of these boomers to these conversations we're trying to have.
That's just one of the best 3-year runs in the history of the game, and won a championship when people were all complaining. Oh, he hasn't won. He hasn't done this. He hasn't done that. And it's unbelievable, some of the comments. They act like this guy is just like Todd McCullough or some type, and he's putting up averaging triple doubles with ease.
It's all the old heads with the crazy commentary.
They're upset that he doesn't love basketball the way they want him to. You know, the man goes to work, clocks in, and dominates, and then he clocks out and goes and rides horses, and they don't like it.
I say Jokic isn't good because he plays in a soft league. Like, okay.
Like, this is the most talented NBA we've ever seen, and this man is dominating it. So there's no way you're going to sit here and make your narratives up because, as other people would say, Wilt played against plumbers and Michael played against carpenters. And so how is this guy not getting credit for playing against arguably the most athletic, physically gifted group of NBA talent we've ever seen?
I mean, from a dude who a lot of people clown for not being athletically gifted like everybody else.
Yeah, he's the one that's
like
a plumber.
It's insane, bro. Like you said, he just clocks in, and it's actually, it hasn't been brought up enough in these conversations. A lot of the guys, another guy we put him up against, it was David Robinson. A lot of these guys we put him up against were highly touted prospects, like the number 1 prospects in the NBA coming in. We're talking about the 41st player selected in the draft, at one time we used to cheer for the underdog second rounder, and now we're just finding ways to belittle them. And it's like, why not just appreciate it? Like, all we're trying to do, and this is something that me and Josh have been trying to do since day one, is let's just appreciate these guys and not hate on them, and let's just be blessed that we're able to watch a generational talent continually take his game to heights that we thought that he could get to, but he's just, 50-point triple doubles, and like it's insane. It's so normalized in this league anymore that we kind of just Jokic had a triple double today. It's like that used to be like the main story, and like the narrative gets flipped all the time. Josh, we talk about this all the time. Oh, there's more free throw shooting now. It's the same as it was in the 80s. Oh, there's more scoring now. It's less than it was in the 80s. Like the narratives like are painted on the wall, but it's washable paint. Like the game is evolving, the players are evolving. Oh, Jokic isn't a good defensive player. Well, if you've watched him over the last 3 seasons, he wasn't a good defensive player, and he's gotten tremendously better, especially team defense, for his team. So I want to say thank you, because you're the mastermind behind this this comparable rotation of NBA greats, and like I said, we're pushing over 3 million reach in a month, and for us, that's incredible. And I love it. I love the series that you've put out there. The question is, are you done, or do you have 1 or 2 more guys in your arsenal?
Oh man, I'm feeling pretty inspired. I might end up going to 20, but I'm not going to run into the ground. But like, we might be going a few more days here.
I challenge you. I challenge you to do a Jamal Murray one.
A Jamal Murray comparison with somebody from comparable to him. Okay, I can do that.
Look, they're the NBA champions. Look. It comes to a point.
Jamal Murray has much less of a legacy paid for him right now, as opposed to Jokic.
I absolutely agree with that, Steve. So I wanted to mention that if you have an hour to kill, and you want to be entertained by some crazy comments, make sure you immediately click Facebook, like Undrafted Hoops. Go check it out in the threads.
Thousands of comments.
We're at that hour and 30 mark. Thousands of comments, Josh. Thousands. In multiple threads. You even threw up Dirk Nowitzki today, and I just went food shopping. I bought some more popcorn. Maybe after the show I'll put a bag in the microwave, settle down, and dig in with a knife and fork in my popcorn and look at some of them comments. You know what I'm saying? Tony G, thank you, my man. I appreciate you. We're going to be doing a couple shows this week, I hope, right?
I'm all in this week. As many as we need. Amen.
As many as we – Josh, you heard it here.
Yeah.
That's a commitment, bro. I'll go knock on his fucking door and wake him up if he's trying to sleep.
Oh, no sleeping. Summer draft in the summer league, in the FIBA. I'm awake all summer. Might not a little hour nap here and there, but that's about it.
We'll say no sleep till Philippines.
Damn.
Yo. Speaking of the Philippines, I know Josh wanted me to mention them, and I want to bring them up. Kai Soda. You told me I know nothing about him. You told me he plays for the same team Josh Giddey played for in the NBL. Give me a throw a dart at Kai Soda. Tell me what you like.
Sixers.
Shut up, Gary.
My bad.
No, you had to rub that shit in.
That's the only time I heard of that team.
Yeah, he's 7'2". He's super athletic. He went to NBL, then he actually went over to Japan, playing in Japan, averaging only 9 and 8. He just is super raw still, but he moves his feet well. He has some decent touch, and hey, I'm happy to see him in summer league. He'll draw some fans. It will bring a buzz to the Orlando Magic games, and I'm a big believer in guys are going to be making the league at later ages. The way basketball is so global now, by 25, let's see if he can make it to the league.
Yeah, I'm excited. I appreciate you coming on. You make a good point. We'll be on later this week, so I just want to give you a little send off. Josh, Gary, I'm gonna ask you something in a second. The one thing Tony says is older guys coming into the league, being there's more networks to be able to get drafted now. You see Scoot Henderson coming from the G League. You see Victor coming from France. You see the Thompson twins coming from Overtime Elite. We talked about Wembanyama being the first player taken in the last 13 years from non-freshman in college. Is this Kai Soto thing? Is this just another entanglement for the NBA to be able to draw players from multiple different options now, and not just your traditional, college pro thing?
Absolutely. The talent pool is endless, and I think it just keeps expanding with the growth of basketball globally. We've talked about this, but I think that the next major step is, well, first you got to complete the G League, but they need to add
one team left.
I think in the NBA you can do 2 to 4 expansion teams. I think you start with 2 though.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And Adam Silver has talked about that too. He's looking to bring on 2 expansion teams. But Josh, I tell you all the time, brother, I appreciate you. We're gonna hammer out some pods this week.
Yes, sir.
Big week ahead of us. I think the rumors are going to be floating, and I just want to give my shout out to you. So I appreciate you, brother.
Buddy. I appreciate you as well. I love doing this page with you.
My man. Hour and 30 minutes. It was easy as pie.
See you, dude. See you, Gary.
Take care, man. Good talking with you.
Gary, you came on late, so I got to give you the send off last. Me and you got in a tussle earlier this week. You said, I don't care about the Washington Wizards. That's not true. I care about all 30 NBA teams. And the reason why I got on them was because I hated the return. JoeCares.com. Look for me on there. The thing that I was upset about was the Wizards bringing back Chris Paul in the one trade, which turned out to be Jordan Poole. Then there was rumors that they were bringing back Marcus Morris, and then that ended up coming to fruition, and they got Tyus Jones. Gary, you're excited about the Washington Wizards, right?
Yeah, very excited.
Well, don't let it last long, because come Game 10, you won't be excited about them any further.
Game 10 will be 8-2.
Oh.
Then we're gonna finish, like 16 and 58. You know what I mean? Something crazy. But
you speak from experience.
I don't think I wasn't upset about you with the Wizards. You were busting my chops, and you got me a little going. It was more
that doesn't take much.
We need it. You're right. Sometimes it doesn't. I got this red hair, and some days it just ignites fast.
And I'm a Sagittarius.
Asparagus, bro. Get it right. And it was more like a wait and see, man. You were like, what the hell are they doing? Like, they're getting nothing, and I was getting frustrated because A, I was mad about the return, and B,
Absolutely.
I got one of my best friends over here hounding on me about the return, and I'm like, I know the return sucks. They got to be cooking something else up, because there's no way we're taking this and that's done with it. And look, so we suckered the Golden State Warriors into giving us a 24-year-old Jordan Poole. It worked out.
Well, I'm happy for them. I'm happy that I'm equally as happy you came on the show tonight. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
go another hour if you wanted, but
Oh shit! Might have to wake the wife up for that one.
There you go. Tell her you ain't coming to bed anytime soon. No.
Peace, brother. Appreciate you. It's your boy JB signing out. Sorry, we try to keep it in an hour. I'm telling you, I can talk basketball all night long. If you let me talk about other teams, I will. Facebook, share anything that looks good to you, comment, load it up, bro. It's a fun page. We try to keep it light. We bring our content to Twitter if you're more of a Twitter person, at Undrafted Hoops _ and YouTube. I've seen a lot of people in the comments. I promise you, at some point, I'll start interacting with you. I'm awful at it. I have the worst ADHD. It distracts me. So I'm very sorry, but that doesn't mean I won't go back and comment on everything, because I do appreciate it. If you haven't smashed the subscribe button on YouTube, do that shit. So smash the subscribe button, please. Thank you again. Fuck the Celtics every show. Peace.